Hi everyone, it's Nicole here from Sydney English Teacher and from the Successful English Learner by Sydney English Teacher. And I'm coming to you live on my Facebook page and on my YouTube channel with the question of the day. We're up to episode 10 already. Can you believe it? I hope that you've really enjoyed the previous episodes and that you've been able to learn a lot of useful tips there to help you improve your English learning skills. And yeah, I hope that you've been able to use a few of those tips, to implement a few of those tips already so that you become more confident and you see some great results. We're here today with episode 10, and I'm going to be talking to you about pronunciation. Are you ready? So, the question that we're focusing on today is I have a really strong accent. How do I reduce it? Look, that question is asked a lot. I think that most people who learn a language, not just people who learn English, but people who learn any language, are concerned about how they sound. You know, if you learn a language after the age of 7, then you will always have an accent. Your native language, your mother tongue, will always influence the language that you learn and that you speak. So, look, we will always have an accent unless we were born speaking the language. But it is possible to neutralize it. It is possible to reduce that accent and to speak more clearly so that people understand you. And that's why I'm here. I'm here to help you with that, to give you a few tips. And obviously, if you wish to take the next step, I'm more than happy to help you with my pronunciation lessons and my pronunciation course as well. But in the meantime, here are some practical tips that you can implement by yourself so that you see some improvements in your pronunciation and reduce the, what should I say, reduce the accent almost immediately. Are you ready? Let's have a look. My first suggestion is look, speaking practice is the key. It is so, so important to practice every day, regardless of what you're learning or wanting to improve in. You need to make it part of your daily routine. Make it a habit, whether it is writing, whether it is speaking, whether it is listening or reading practice, or, as we are here, pronunciation. If you wish to improve in the area of pronunciation, then daily speaking practice is the key. The more you speak, obviously, the better you become. It's much more important to focus on speaking than to focus on your accent. So don't focus on your accent. Don't think about how you sound. Because if you focus on what you sound like, or if you focus on your strong accent, as you might call it, you will lose your confidence. You know, you won't want to speak. You won't want to open your mouth. So instead, focus on speaking slowly and clearly, and people will understand you better. You'll be much more confident, and you won't be afraid to talk. That's the most important thing. And who knows, by practicing speaking every day, you'll get better and better. So that's a bonus. Moving on, another tip I have is focus on copying sounds. That's right. Look, imitation is the key as well. Imitation is another word for copying. So, what you need to do is you need to copy the words and the expressions that you hear, whether you hear them on the radio, on TV, on the internet, when you're watching a movie. It doesn't really matter where you hear words and expressions. But whenever you hear a new word or an expression, repeat it, copy it. Focus in on the sounds. Listen really, really carefully to the sounds of that word or that expression. And the more that you copy it, the more you will sound like the person who said it. The more you will sound like a native speaker because you are focusing on what it sounds like instead of on the meaning, which is also important. But if we want to focus on pronunciation and accent reduction, we need to focus on sounds. How does that sound? Good, doesn't it? So focusing on the sounds. Concentrate on the sounds. Listen carefully and copy. Tip number 2. Let's move on to the next one. I need you to learn the individual sounds of the English language. You can't improve if you don't have an awareness of the English sounds and how they are formed. If you don't know the English sounds, then, well, your accent or your pronunciation won't improve. It's really important to realize that your native language, your mother tongue, will always interfere unless you have a background in pronunciation, unless you have an understanding of the English sounds, how to form them, what to do with your mouth, and what they should sound like. That's so important. If you learn the English sounds, how to form them, what they should sound like, how to connect to them all together, then your pronunciation will improve in leaps and bounds. You will improve if you learn the background to pronunciation, if you learn the sounds. If you don't learn that or have an understanding of that, you will always use the sounds of your own language. And 99% of the time, that will be wrong. Obviously, my pronunciation courses teach you how to do exactly that. I teach you all about the sounds of the English language, what to do with your mouth to form them, how to identify them, how to, improve quickly with that. I've got lots of pronunciation courses, but I also have a lot of free pronunciation lessons over on YouTube and in my Facebook group. So make the most of that. Go and have a look. And remember, learn the background, learn the individual sounds and what to do with them, and you will improve. Next, neutralization instead of elimination. What do I mean by that? Well, it's all about making your accent more neutral. Instead of focusing on how to sound like an American or a British person or an Australian or a Canadian or whatever, instead of trying to sound like them, you want to sound like yourself. You want to be yourself and have your own voice, but you want to sound like the English speaking version of you, not the Spanish or French or Japanese or whatever version of you. So you want to make your accent more neutral so that when you open your mouth, people don't immediately say, "Oh, you're from France," or "Wow, you're from China," or "Are you from Italy?" So it's about neutralization. You will never 100% eliminate your accent, okay? Your own mother tongue will always influence your pronunciation if you learn a language after the age of 7, okay? So remember, we're not trying to erase it. We're not trying to replace it. We are trying to neutralize it so that people can't identify immediately where you come from when you speak English. Does that make sense? Yeah. So focus on neutralization instead of elimination. Here's a quick overview of what I just taught you. So, the key points to remember from today's episode are: you must do daily speaking practice. If you focus on speaking more slowly and clearly instead of on what you sound like, you will improve. People will understand you better. Your accent will disappear, you know? Number two, imitate the words that you hear. It's important to copy the words and expressions you hear from the radio, television, internet, movies. Just repeat them. Rewind, listen again, repeat, repeat, repeat. Number three, you need to have an awareness of the sounds of the English language. You need to learn the background of pronunciation, the background of the sounds, how they are formed, exactly what to do, and what they should sound like. And number four, focus on neutralizing your accent because you'll never 100% lose it. You know, I speak many, many, many languages, and I have an Australian accent when I speak German, French, Japanese, and people laugh at me because they're like, Nicole, you still sound like Nicole. Well, of course I sound like Nicole because that's my voice. Okay. But what I do when I speak German, for example, is I neutralize the accent. In other words, they know that I wasn't born in Germany, but they can't immediately tell where I come from. But I do sound like Nicole, so I am myself. I'm being authentic. Wonderful. I've got a bonus tip for you all here, which is your accent is part of you. It's who you are. So please don't be afraid to speak out loud because of how you sound. If you don't like the way you sound, then don't be afraid to speak. Don't let it stop you from speaking. You know, instead, rewind a little, take a few steps back, and learn the background to pronunciation. That will help you change the way you sound and become more confident. Wonderful. If you have any questions at all about what I taught you today, or if you've got any other questions about the English language, please ask me because I'd be more than happy to help and to include your question in a future episode. So, sydneyenglishteacher.com.au/ask a question. I do hope that you enjoyed today's session, and I thank you for joining me. If you'd like to learn more, come and join my learning community as well. You can visit me on the website, on my blog. There's hundreds of posts there to help you. I've got amazing online courses and a learning library which you will love, coming really, really, really soon. My wonderful Facebook page, Sydney English Teacher, has thousands of learning posts. My Facebook group, The Successful English Learner, again has thousands of learning posts, lessons, practice opportunities, and the same over on the YouTube channel. Hundreds of videos there to help you in your English learning journey. So I thank you so much for joining me today. And always, I hope you found this episode about reducing your strong accent really helpful. Come back again tomorrow. Actually, not tomorrow, on Monday for episode 11. And if you found today's session helpful or enjoyable, please share the love. Share it with your family and friends. Click on the share button so that they can benefit too. Anyway, thank you everyone so much for joining me, and I look forward to being back very soon